Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're finally going to be able to take a look at the Phantom 820. Now, as many of you would have seen on my Facebook page and in a recent subscriber video, I've had this case for a little while, and I've actually put the interim rig in it, and the reason for that was when I got the original Phantom, I did a similar thing where I give it a chance where I was going to use it quite regularly for quite a bit. I've actually been using this one now for a couple of weeks, actually, you know, on my desk, so I could get a really good feel for it. So when we do review this, I have, you know, spent a fair bit of time with it, using it and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, there's obviously been a page on the splash screen, startup screen on the NZXT website for some time now with a countdown clock on it, and they've been leaking little bits of information about it, like when they first showed you the lights that are in it and all that kind of stuff. It's been quite an exciting launch, but it's finally time for us to be able to get a proper look and a decent look round, and it does feel like I haven't done a case review for some time. Now, many of you, if you're looking for a quick, short, mince around, kind of just open it and point out the features video, then you best go and watch somebody else's because you've come to the wrong place. But if you are actually thinking about purchasing this product and you want to know the ins and outs of a duck's bum and really get in and to know this, you've probably come to the right place. So get yourself comfy. Get yourself comfy for all the regulars. I really do need to change my teeth. For all the regulars, you know the drill. Go and get yourself a cup of tea and some biscuits, or a cup of coffee if it's the morning time for you, and we'll start to have a look at the latest Phantom. And I will say this is the latest Phantom, but this is also the top of the range of the Phantom line. I think you may have some other ones coming soon. But anyway, let's crack on. Right then, so we will start at the front, well, the top, front, whatever you want to call it, as we always do with a TTL case review. And one thing I will say straight away is there's so many features of this case that are kind of scream out as being part of the original Phantom. It's a they really have carried over a lot of the design points over and brought them into this case. But with the sample that I've got, it's the gunmetal grey, because they made a batch of 10 which got sent out, and I was one of the lucky ones that got one of the first 10. They only made them in gunmetal, that's why I've not got a white one. But this kind of like front bit and like this top kind of curve on it does really remind me, I can't help it, just makes me think of one of the aliens from the Aliens films. But yes, anyway, so as with the original Phantom, we do have a front door, and you can see there that we've got 4 optical bays. They're all vented, but it doesn't really matter because the door closes up pretty well and there's not really any ventilation points for that door. But inside, there's an LED mode button, an SD card reader, the hue changer. This is what I'll show you later on with the LEDs in the case. You twist this dial, and essentially, there we go. You twist the dial round, and it will change the colour of the LEDs. There's also another button here, and that's to turn the LEDs on for the I/O at the back by your motherboard and round by your PCI slots. So there's another switch there for that. But obviously there's points there that we'll have to cover later. Also with the LED mode switch, what that does is it turns, you can either have all of the LEDs on, so the ones at the front, as like I said, I'll show you later, and the inside, or you can select just one or the other, or obviously turn them off. But like I said, we will cover that in a bit. Now, moving down, you can see again another, very similar Phantom design point, the mesh area on the front. There's actually a 200mm fan hiding inside, but there's also, if we remove it, a large mesh kind of dust filter area. Now if I pull the front of the case off, I've already pre-loosened it before anyone says anything. Oh, so having a look on the front part of the case. The reason why I've pulled that off is so that you can see the 200mm fan. Now, that 200mm fan, there isn't any room underneath to put 120s or anything. which is slightly different from the 810, the Switch 810. But when we open the inside, you'll see. You can also see at the bottom that kind of where we'd expect the radiator area to be. This is all closed off, and it's just really that 200mm intake there. But that lower section, as you can see, is where the dust filter goes. But you can also see the plinth on the bottom of the case. Now, if I put the front door back on, like I said, I had pre-loosened this already. We put that dust filter in. Got my head in the way, I know. There we go. You can see that the case is quite raised up on that that kind of plinth area, and it does enable you to have a good amount of breathing from underneath the case. When we get inside, I'll show you how that can be quite beneficial. But what I'm going to do quickly is, if we put the camera up, I think I'm going to have to move you in. So let me just stop the camera quickly and get set up. Right, so we're back, and kicking the tripod. Top panel, we have 4 USB 2s on this left hand side and 2 USB 3s with an internal header. This little cutout there is actually a hard drive activity light. And over here, that's your power button, and that's your reset button. Now, this is another one of the LED areas that you can that will light up and change with the colour of the case. We've got the headphone and the microphone port, but we've also got this section here, which is the fan controller. And basically, you press this button to select the fan, and a little light will come up to show you which one there is. And it's rear, IS, which I'm saying is like the internal side panel fan. Then a T for top, and then an then an F for front. So rear, internal side panel, top, front. And you can scroll through, and basically it will go through and tell you which one you're doing, and you can turn them up and down. But something that I have noticed with this that I really, really like is that if you keep turning them right the way down, you can actually turn the fan off altogether, and it will completely stop. It's something that you do have to kind of make sure that you don't turn them down too much and not realise that you turned it off altogether. But like the side panel fan, for example, you might not want it running all the time, so you can, manually set it to just go completely off. And I do really, really like that idea as well. And you can get the fans to spin, real quite slow. I've tested the internal fans that actually come with it. But where I've put interim in this, I've actually got a H100 in the roof as well, and it will turn the Corsair fans completely off. And then a single notch up, and the fans did start spinning again straight away. And I'm obviously using the SP120 Quiet Edition, so obviously I can't test every type of fan, whether they will go completely off and whether they'll start. Some fan controllers, you will find that as you start to turn them down, they may not, they may turn themselves off, or at least stop spinning sooner. Also, what you need to watch out is, this is not with the NZXT fans that come with it, but if you start using aftermarket fans, because you need to kind of remember that a fan controller, they can't make it for every type of fan. They don't all start spinning at the same volts. They don't all stop spinning at the same volts, that kind of thing. But you may find with some of the slower other branded fans, you may need to turn it up a couple of notches before it will actually kick in after being completely turned off. I know for most of you out there, you'll know that, but I keep seeing comments recently about people moaning about fan controllers and stuff, and especially it's always fan controllers in cases, and you just need to, give them a little bit of due, because it's not the fan controller's fault, it's just the fact that they were designed for other fans. It's really not such a big deal. I very much doubt whether anyone will have any issues with this, but it's just the case if you do, for those kind of silly people out there that don't really think about it. Now, I'm just going to move the case again quickly, and we'll do it that way. Now, I can't show you all of it because my camera literally will not go any higher. I'm up as high as I can on the tripod. But if I tilt it over a little bit, you can see the mesh area goes right the way over. Now, this is something, this is a personal thing with me. This is obviously, this mesh area is a part of the original kind of the Phantom design to have that mesh area at the back. And they've had to add all these perforations in, because as I will talk about later, it's got a 360mm radiator support in the top, well, 360 or a 280. So it needed extra ventilation further down here, because if you remember with the other Phantom, this was kind of enclosed and then you had the fan controller up this area. Now, I don't think I understand why we've got this mesh area here, and because it obviously matches the original one, and we've obviously got the mesh area on the front. But I don't think this, for me, optically, these fins work. Not with them together. Now, I'd actually like just this kind of cutout area to go all the way to the back. But obviously they wanted to keep this kind of Phantom style design. So I think what they should have done would have been to have carried the mesh down. I'll bring the camera back a little bit. I think what they should have done was carried this mesh down a lot further, and then maybe not quite such an acute kind of cut over on it, to have got the ventilation that they needed. And they should have just had that mesh bit, and I think it would have looked a lot better. I personally, and don't forget, this is just me kind of voicing my opinions on the design here. You may love it, wicked, but you've obviously come here to hear my thoughts. I think that this mesh, kind of this add-on bit, is just kind of, it looks to me like an afterthought, and it's not something that's really kind of gelled with me very well, to the point where it's almost annoyed me. If it was all one or all the other, I wouldn't have moaned at all, but I just don't think the two work. And something else is where I'm a bit of an OCD freak, and I do like things to kind of match and do, you know, kind of like blend in together and things like that. Where there's no more of this kind of perforation area anywhere else in the case, it like I said, it just doesn't work to me. But again, that is just a personal thing. Now I'm going to move the camera back a little bit more, because what I'm going to do is we're going to go down a bit. Might as well go right the way down, haven't we? Right, we'll go right the way back a bit now. There we go. So we can have a look at the side panel. Now, side panel. Right, window area obviously looks smack bang over. That's why I've got the camera there. Smack bang over your kind of your RAM and your kind of CPU area in the case. So if you did have a massive air heatsink in there, that would be smack bang in the middle of that. Something else to think about is if you did have a massive heatsink, because there are some big ones out there now, it'd probably take up most of that window. I like the design of the window bit. I'm really not a fan of the mesh underneath. I know some of you out there like to have kind of side panel fans for your graphics cards and stuff, but the thing is I've been working with hardware now for quite a few years, and sure, a side panel fan does give you a bit of ventilation over a hot graphics card. It can be beneficial if you've got graphics cards sandwiched right up against each other in like SLI and there's no gaps between. But motherboards are getting designed better nowadays, and carrying on from that, so is case ventilation. And with this, I think if you use the standard case fans and had it all set up properly, there really isn't a need for that side panel fan. It's something that people keep kind of getting and stuff. It really doesn't work for me. I am very much a window or a mesh person. I don't think two work well together at all. And this isn't something new for me. This is something I've said in many other videos. Now I think really with NZXT they missed out on a bit of a trick here, because they could have designed this to have done both. You could have had windows being able to be added into that kind of mesh area below, and I think it would have been quite easy for them to have bundled both in, and basically you could have had one or the other, and you could have essentially chosen it yourself. One thing I will say, and I will show you right here and right now, because I've went out to the garage especially, and I'll show you. Now, one of the things I do want to show you anyway is the fact that we've got two screws on the side, and then we've also got the really good latch where you loosen it a bit and then there's a push button. Let me just turn the camera around so I can make sure that you can actually see what I'm doing. There's a push button and you push that down and then the side panel comes off. Now basically what I did, you can see the panel, the fan inside, it's a 200mm fan. Now we get our first look at the inside, but the reason why I took that off to show you and why I went out to the garage was this. Now, if you go back and watch my Switch 810 video that I did, I said my eyes were having sex with such a glorious window, because I'd not seen such a big, open and great looking window in just so long. And I was really, really disappointed that when I did get the 820, I found such a, I don't want to make it personal, but I really don't like the window and the mesh area on that. And the whole time I've had this by my desk, I've been rocking the window from the Switch 810. Now, I think that works and looks so much better. Why spend so much money on a case and with hardware if you don't want to show off, even to yourself, what's inside? And the thing is that's a 7970 in there. I don't get any temperature problems with that 7970. I've even got it so when I'm kind of like just doing video rendering and online and stuff like that, the fan speed on that is so slow, it hardly runs at all. It's only really if I ever do anything graphic intensive that fan will kick up and, you know, go to do anything at all. And I don't get temperature problems with that at all. So I don't personally think that there was really any need for the side panel fan. But I do understand there still are people out there that still think they need to have one and stuff like that. Apparently the side panel fan was something the NZXT focus group said everybody wants. And I do mean everybody wants. When NZXT told me that, I have to admit, and I will be quite blunt with you, they said to me, yeah, no, our focus group says we had to have it. Well, I told them to change their focus group because they don't need to have it. And I think they've really missed a trick with this. Now I'm going to put the original door back on in a bit, but I just wanted to show you, for those of you out there, I don't know whether you can buy the windows separately, but it would be a great idea to get the 810 window and put it onto your case. Now, right, so we've got the case, the rig open, however you want to put it. I'm going to move all the doors out of the way. I don't mind walking in front of it. We all know we're quite casual with the TTL videos. We don't need to overproduce it. We're just having a good old chit chat. Friends, aren't we? So, we'll bring you in a bit closer and we'll start on the bottom. Now this is going to require me sitting in the magic squeaky school that I've literally had since I was a kid. I can't even, I was probably a young teenager when this stool got bought. Anyway, slightly off topic. So, in the bottom of the case. Now, you can see the mesh area in the bottom of the case. Or at least I'm hoping you can. Yes, you can. Did you see my ugly mugged in? Anyway, in the bottom of the case, you can see the mesh area. You can get a 240mm or a 280mm water cooling radiator in the bottom. Something else to point out as well, the 140mm based radiators, they've still not set out proper industry standard yet. Some of them are 15mm gaps, some of them are 20mm gaps between the fans. With this, they have extended the mounting points, so you should be able to, well, you can get both in. I've tried. So you can get a decent radiator in. One thing I will say though, is if you're going to do that and you're going to try and get a radiator in, make sure that you have a reasonable sized power supply. There are plenty of 160mm long power supplies that you'll get in and you won't have any problems with this at all. For those of you out there who've got something slightly bigger, obviously I'm using the Hale 90 here. I think this is the 850 watt model. I just went back to this because obviously I building the case up for NZXT. So I bossed this back in there, but you could still get that in. I think this is about a 180mm. If you had any of the really, really long power supplies, you may run into issues with having a radiator this way round. Now, hard drive area, clip here. This is something that's quite different to the 810, although parts of the main part of the chassis is actually very similar. But you can remove this from here, and then you lose two of the 6 hard drive bays. This isn't removable. This is actually part of the main case, and it's bolted in there. You have also got an option here. I know we're at the top of the screen, but anyway, to put a 140 or 120 millimeter fan in here with obviously the you can direct the airflow at your graphics card or whatnot. It doesn't come with that fan. You need to add that in yourself if you want it. But this hard drive area, essentially you can unscrew it. There's just a couple of screws this side, a couple of screws that side, and that's where you can get your radiator in. As you can see, there's mammoth amount of room there, and I'll give you a rough guesstimate of how big the gap is. Well, it won't be rough. You're looking at about 140 millimeters, so 14 centimeters. So that there's plenty of room there to be able to get in even a massive 80mm thick rad if you wanted. Plenty of room for push-pull and all that kind of stuff, so you could have quite a healthy radiator area in the bottom. Now, there's two cable grommets there, and another one right by the motherboard if you have a look. But there's also a grommet just underneath my graphics card here, and another one that's hidden just behind where the power supply already is. So if you had one of those 160mm long power supplies, you'd also be able to use the grommets there. So just in that bottom area, there's 5 of this size grommets, which is obviously very, very healthy. Now if we move up slightly, don't forget this is the interim rig. In fact, I'm not sure if I'll turn it around that way, we'll be able to see a little bit better. But you can also see that there's 2 grommets here, 2 grommets here, and there's another grommet at the top. But something I did find quite confusing, if you have a look along the top of the motherboard area, there's no grommet at all, and there's no grommet for if you have a water cooling radiator in the roof to be able to put your fans out. I expected there to be something in there to be able to like I said really, to be able to route the cables a little bit better. Now, radiators, while we're on the subject, we'll go from the motherboard area. I need to put my... Now, I always measure to the top of the motherboard because I always measure to the top of the motherboard, and the reason why I do that is because essentially I see the top of the motherboard area as the safe cut-off point for everyone. Sometimes people have better arranged components and stuff that you can drop down a little bit, but where we have to go with the law of averages for everyone, I give you the kind of worst case scenario, and then if you need a couple, like 5 extra millimeters of stuff, it's then up to you to be able to work it out with your specific hardware. But from where the radiator bolts in to the top of the motherboard, you're looking at 70 millimeters. So that's plenty. If you've got a 60mm thick radiator, that'll also give you a little bit of room to put your cables up, as I have done here. So you can get a 60mm rad in there fine. But we can also put the fans outside, and that's fine. So you can have a set of fans outside. If you want to go push-pull, then you've either got to work out about your hardware or run a slightly thinner radiator. You could then run a Alpha Cool, do the UT45s, they're 45mm thick, all copper radiators. You could put one of those up there fine, but that's if you really feel the need to go push-pull. I find really with something like this, it's just about looks more than anything else. It's not really, unless you've got like really, really densely thinned radiators, which I don't personally like. I prefer the more wider, open, quiet rads. Then a single set of fans is normally alright, especially if you're using decent quality ones. Now, what I have done as well, as you can see the Corsair fans just sat here, but I have the radiator for the H100. If I take the door off, we're going to end up completely dismantling the case at this rate. But what I'm going to do with you live on camera. Now, the H100 is obviously massively popular. Everyone's like, will it run a H100? Will it run a H100? But there are obviously other brands, and it is quite a stiff roof to get off. There are obviously other brands out there that do a similar kind of radiator, or cooling choice I should say, but there'll be even more coming soon. So what I wanted to show you is I have the radiator outside of the case, and I've still managed to put all the hosing and everything through the gap. It's quite a wide open kind of design, as you can see here. It's all really well done, actually. I'm quite a fan of this. Now, if you were to have the fans outside, another good thing is that there's plenty of kind of open areas for you to put the fan cables through. But what I do think is they've missed out a little bit of a trick, because these areas at the back that I'm putting my hands through don't go to the back panel, which is where I would personally have been wanting to have put the cables down into. So they missed out on a bit of a trick there. Now, when I first reviewed the 810, the regulars will remember I picked up on something, and that was at the top of the like the optical bay cage. It was all closed off, and I said there wasn't any airflow. Well, in the later 810s and also in the 820, they've added in these cutouts to aid airflow should you end up having a radiator right here. But something else that they have done, this is something I don't think many people are going to pick up on, is the reason with the 810 why it needed that was because the radiator sat quite far forward. With this, they've bumped the radiator right to the back. So the third fan, it hardly even touches that kind of optical bay area, and it's actually a much better idea. Because the way we do it now is you just have the largest end tank towards the front. But it will go either way. As you can see, we've got the Corsair one here. So, and there is a bit of kind of adjustment. Now, all you're going to need to do when you put your radiator in is literally, it may not fit one way round, but that's not really such a big idea, a big problem, I should say. And I actually much prefer this where, like I said, they bumped the radiator right the way to the back. It makes things so much easier for the rest of the case. Now, what we do need to do is I need to rejig the camera again, and then we'll look at the back, the actual back panel, and then round the back as well. Right then, so around the back, it's all very similar, or feels very familiar. Because we've got the 140mm fan that it comes fitted with, but you can also fit 120s, and you can slide them up and down as well. So you can have it right at the top if you want. If you've got a radiator in there and you want to bring it down, you can do that. It's exactly the same arse end as the Switch 810. We've got, can you see it on the camera? No, I need to move it down. There we go. We've got 4 water cooling grommets, but there's plenty of ample room for water cooling inside unless you're one of these people with a massive external solution. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 PCI slots at the back, and then at the bottom we have the power supply, which you can fit either way round. There is a large mesh area at the bottom of the case for the power supply, and it also has its own, again, removable dust filter. Really easy to put in and out. Obviously I always have mine with the fan up, so it doesn't matter for me, but that's there, and it's all lovely jubbly. So now what we need to do is spin the case around and we'll have a look at the back. Now, something with the back of the case, it does come with a lot, hang on, there we go, it does come with a lot of its own wiring. Now you can obviously spend a lot of time getting your cables tidied and stuff, and I know most of us normally do, but there isn't a massive amount of room behind the drive tray by the time you've got all of these cables in anyway, because you can see this mass of cables that comes from the top. So obviously we've got a fan controller up here, we've got USB 3 cables, we've got USB 2 cables. There's a lot of kind of cabling, and once you kind of put that cable in over your 24-pin power supply cable, it does get quite tight. Now, the Molex that comes with the case is, you need to plug that in. That's for your fan controller, and then there's also, I can't remember where it is. It's around here somewhere. I'm trying to follow the SATA cable, because there is a SATA cable which powers the lights, and it's got a little SATA power connection on it which powers the lights. We've obviously also got a lot of other fan connections here, more connections for the top, for the top fans. There's another one there. We've got 2 plugged in already, but there's a third there, so that's all in there. There's extra fan cables for the side panel fans and for the back. So you can use the internal fan controller really, really well. All I will say is I obviously didn't spend much time trying to keep it all massively tidy, but if you wanted to do that, you probably would have to spend a good hour or so, or maybe more, to get things all proper tidy. But there are plenty of clamps and stuff all the way around, the little cable tie anchors, so you could make a good job of it. When I was swapping interim over, obviously where it was my main rig and I was technically meant to have been working, I just wanted to get it in there quickly rather than spending ages with it. I think the main reason for me was because I wanted to put some music back on. But if this is going to be a rig that you're going to live with all the time, because obviously I'm going to have to swap this out again within the next few days, I wanted to just get it in. But one thing I will say is if you have your power supply turned around like I do with mine, it can make things quite difficult with fitting your 8-pin CPU power connector. Now there is a cutout up here to be able to put that through, but there's no grommet there, and it's not in the best of places, and it's certainly not a great way to route your fan cables through and stuff, which is why I said it felt like it needed at least one more grommet up here somewhere. Now the case does come with, as you can see, I've left it just zip tied in. There is an 8-pin braided power supply extension cable for those of you that may have a short power supply connection, or you spin it round like mine. What you can do, and what I do with most of my cases now, is I put it up through the back of the CPU cutout, and when you go to fit the motherboard, basically with the motherboard out, you fit the 8-pin power supply cable which has been put through this cutout, you fit it, and then you put the motherboard in place and put a couple of screws in, and it just fits it all in there lovely. And this is just something I've started doing, even though this was like a review case. And you can see that there's, you can still move the cable and everything. With some cases, it's a bit tighter. But with this seemed the easier option rather than adding the extra, length in. But anyway, that was just another personal preference point. So I showed you before we had 2 hard drive cages in the, or hard drive connections in this. But there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, so there is 6 in total, and they're just simple out. You kind of just pull them to locate them into your hard drive. That's if you're running a mechanical, but there are solid state mounts here. Now this is something that I wanted to bring up, because let me just turn this around so you can see. You can see that this plastic is quite thick. Let me give you a rough idea how thick this is. It's 3, maybe 4 millimeters thick. Now, the screws that came with the rig for the solid state drives aren't quite long enough with this thick plastic. It's only like maybe 1, maybe 2 threads. Doesn't really grab a hold of the solid state drive properly. There are obviously screws that they've used for older cages where the plastic has been thinner, and they've not really thought about it, because like I said, the screws that I got with this, or with the case, were not long enough. I had to go through my magic box of spares to be able to find screws to fit the solid state drive in. Now I don't know whether that's going to be the same for everyone. I don't know whether it was like early sample screws or something like that, but I will say that for those of you out there, if you go to do it and you can't do it, you're just going to have to hope that you have some other screws spare, or you're going to end up just sellotaping them in, because the ones that I got with this were not long enough at all. So maybe a little bit of an oversight there with them. Now really, we've covered pretty much everything. We've talked about water cooling in the roof. I've shown you pretty much everything other than the lights. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the camera off, because we have been here for quite some time already. I'm going to turn the camera off, going to put the case back together, get some power into it, and no, you can't see me, can you? Oh, nice look there. What an idiot. Anyway, I'm going to put the case back together, get it set up, get some power in the back, and then I'll walk you through the lights. Right then, lights off. or the room lights are off. Now if you can see coloured lights on the left hand side of your screen, that's just the lights coming out the back of my Sonar. Now if I switch the light switch on once, that turns the inside lights on. They're up in the roof of the case. I will show you in a bit. If I turn the switch on the second time, I'm just going to shut the door so that you can see that we've got the LEDs here, and there's also a section up here on the roof. As you can see, my hand kind of flashing away up here. That's all the lights down the side of the fan controller. What I'm going to do, because I can just see that the camera can't really see the ones on the roof. If I move you up, I'm just going to tilt the case slightly over so that you can see, just so that you can see that line there. It's impossible for me to be able to show you all of this at once where there's 3 different ones there. I just wanted to give you a quick look so you can see those there anyway. If we move back down, it's the side one you really want to get the benefit from. Now if I switch the switch again, we can see both. Now I said to you before about the scroll wheel, which was the hue. I'm just going to flick the camera, there we go, round so I can see you better. So if I turn the case around a little bit better, actually we'll be able to see it slightly better. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see the lights up the wall here as well, which is the lights on that side panel bit I lent you to show. Anyway, if I scroll the wheel round, it changes colours, and it's very subtle. It's an RGB, so you can spin it round. Now this is about the closest I've managed to get to white. Is it another notch? Yeah, about there. About there's white. Now I just want to show you something. This is just quickly, because white is the only colour I had a problem with. Come on camera. Now, because of the way RGBs work, if you have a look on the wall, you can see all the different colours, because the way they get white is to mix all the other colours. Now the problem with that, when we look at the lights, you can see that there is a fair bit of green there. Now it's just, that's the way that they make the colours. Now on the side one, it's not too bad. It looks a bit pinky, if anything. It does look nice inside the case. It does work quite well. It still is quite pinky. You can see the lights. They're up in the roof. I will take the side panel off and show you in a bit. But this side one, this one looks alright. There is a couple of green hues to it, but it's just this one you can see. But that's only if you wanted it white. So it's really not too much of a problem if you don't. Right, so we'll carry on going around the colours for you. We'll spin it a bit more. It goes into green, and what you'll notice is you can have light green, like there. It's quite limey. Turn it a little bit more. It gets really kind of appley green. Then it'll get quite dark, and then we move into that's what I would say is yellow. We go a couple of other notches. It goes into, we've got like a nice orange there. It goes into a real deep orange. Then we start to go into the reds. If you keep spinning from red, it will start to mix a little bit more of those white colours in, and you can get a pink there. That is what I would call like a hot pink colour. And then from pink it starts to go into more of a purple as the blue LEDs kind of start to kick in, and that there I'd say is like a purpley mauve. And then we start going in, as the red fades out, we start to go into this is like a light blue, get into really quite vivid blue. We keep spinning, we eventually come back to what could possibly be deemed as being white. And that's actually quite a good white there. And then we're back to the beginning again where we were with green. Now what I'm going to do is lean the case over. Come on cable, let go. Now, the reason why I did that is to show you the LEDs at the top of the case. If I turn some light back on, you can see where they are. They're right at the very top of the case, and if I turn them off, you can see that they're in like a chrome housing. I'll zoom you in for a look. Like I said, you can see they're in like a chrome housing there at the top. And they light right down the side of the case. So that's where they are on the inside. I'll turn those off, but now I'm pretty confident that I've shown you everything. So it's now time for us to reset the case back up. In fact, let me hit the power button while I'm talking to you so it can shut itself down. So we'll reset the case and we'll move on to a good lengthy TTL style conclusion. Right then peeps, on to the conclusion. And obviously we're going to chat about everything, but we need to talk about an award initially. Now, Phantom, to me, I instantly think back to the original Phantom. And I had the pleasure of having the, when the original Phantom was released, it was right at the time of I-40. And I had two, a black one and a white one, which I took to the I-40 show. We had them all badged up with overclock 3D stickers on them, and we basically we gave them away, but we rebuilt people's rigs while we were there live at the show. It was Terry, and then I can't remember the other nipper's name. And the worst bit about it is I've actually got the other nipper on MSN still, because we do still stay in touch. And I can't remember his name for the life of me, and I feel really bad about that now, so I should have looked first. But anyway, we gave those two away, as well as another case. And the reason why I bring that up is because that was the first time that they'd been seen in the flesh in public. It was their first public airing in the UK. The two that I had were review samples, and they hadn't even gone out to retailers or anything yet. So I remember the really, really early kind of Phantom days when it was first released, and I was quite a fan of it back then. The thing was, the reason why that Phantom did so well was because it was really competitively priced. Now I found out literally within like the last hour or so that this is going to be retailing in the UK at around the £200 mark. Now that's almost twice the price of the original Phantom. Now this one is obviously a much, it's a very superior case to that. It's completely different. It may look different, but we've actually got proper dust filter in with this one. Phantom, the original Phantom didn't. We've got really, really good airflow with this one. The original Phantom airflow was a joke. We've obviously got fan controller in it, which does its job very, very well. There's cables everywhere for it, so that's all really, really good. The lights are great as well. But there's still part of me, I don't know whether it's just like a personal aesthetics thing, because like I said, their focus group said, oh no, we must have a side panel fan and stuff like that. Now, I don't like this. That may well just be a real personal thing for me. I may be getting to the point where, obviously, I'm, I don't want to say elitist, but I am kind of used to playing with nice stuff. You can't get away from that. But this, the price is still there. It's just like, would I really want to pay £200 for that case? Now, if you want the side panel fan, brilliant. But once you're getting up to the kind of market of spending 200 quid on a case, you're generally getting to the people that really know what they want. They understand what's good. They understand what works. And I don't think there's going to be many people really that are going to think that, this is going to be a good idea. We've done polls and stuff on the forums in the past, and I would say probably 90% of the people that voted wanted one or the other. And in that, what I'm trying to say is people understood that you don't necessarily want both. If someone wants to be able to see their kit inside, they want a bloody great window. If somebody wants good airflow, they just want fucking mesh. And I just think think the kind of mix and match thing is kind of aiming at a price bracket for customers that would be much, much lower. Maybe I'm getting completely the wrong end of the stick here, but this is just my kind of thought that if you're going to have something like this, this would be the type of case that I would have expected to see, or this side panel design would have been something I would have expected to see much lower down in their product range. And it's kind of mirrored with other manufacturers as well. If you have a look about, the higher end cases generally are the ones that have got the windows. The lower end cases have either just got the mesh, or, and I'm thinking that there might be like a cheap, or say around, I think it might be the half XM or something. It's got like fans here and then a window at the top. It's because they're trying, it's kind of the board, the breakover point. So this design for me is like, it should be a mid-range case at very best. So that's why I don't like this window, or this window design. I much prefer this type of thing. I mean, if you want side panels, you know, this looks better. I think this almost instantly looks like a more expensive case. The fact that you can see everything in there. And this is another reason why for me personally, that side panel kind of, it confuses my head into thinking that this should be below the Switch 810, but it's not. It's superior. It's a model up. It's the number increment upwards. So it's difficult to explain. Something like that to me on the side instantly kicks my brain into thinking something completely different. That to me, even if it was a slightly different one, you know, slightly different design, because I actually quite like these angular designs. I think if they'd have gone with this kind of idea, but with this mirrored, it could have worked really well. But yeah, scratched it. This I think looks a million times better. But we are going off topic now. The only real thing I've got to pick at with this case is the side panel and that kind of a bit iffy kind of mesh area on the roof, and they're my negative points. And that's, you know what I mean, that's not really a lot of negative points other than the price. Now, before I found out the price, I'll admit I was thinking it's gold. I'm going to be gentle with the side panel because obviously there's a lot of people out there that want this, but do you know what I mean? We are in the kind of a point in the market now where it wouldn't really take much to get a Dremel to this, be able to clean these lines up, and be able to just bang some acrylic over the top. There's room around the back, so you could get a window fitted in here fine, and it would give someone something to do. But obviously there are other brands out there that obviously they've got a case out there with a massive window anyway, so it's a catch-22. Now I have had to really think about the award for this one, because when I found out the price I did think I'm going to mark it down to silver, but I think that was me being a little bit harsh, but I still think that the fact that the Switch 810 is 150 quid in the UK now, and that this being 200 is a hell of a price increase upwards for what I see as being a fan controller difference, a dodgy side panel, and some lights. I'd see the side panel bit as being a negative point, but I'm not so sure that I think that it's worth a £50 increase for the fan controller and the lights that are built in. Sure, it's nice to be able to do your dials, but let's face it, peeps, most of us are going to know roughly the colour that we're going to want anyway. So would it have been better for us to buy the 810 and then put a fan controller in it, you know, that we wanted? Although I don't necessarily really like them that much. I normally fix my fan speeds with fan speed reducers, and I don't even use motherboard headers. You'll notice that nothing on the board inside is run off of motherboard headers. I only wired it in with a fan controller because I obviously wanted to test this. But the fan controller is nice. It's nice that it's built in. But like I said, I'm very much at that point. If you buy the Phantom, I think you'll be paying the price because you actually like the design. Because if you were just really going for features, as in what you can fit inside, airflow, that kind of thing, I would be telling you to go for the Switch 810. because it is that much cheaper. I don't think this is worth a £50 price increase over the Switch 810. And the more I've spoken about this, the more that I'm going to stick with that silver award, which is quite a thing, because I don't think it is worth that extra 50 quid over the Switch 810. The Switch was an amazing case. It's one of the best cases, or probably the best case. No, yeah, I will say it's the best case NZXT have produced to date. Now, the Phantom is very, very, you can see there's a lot of parts in this that are the Switch. Now, if this was, I think if this was sort of like 150, 175, something like that, I would have probably been, I probably would have given it gold. But if it was my own money, and I do mean if it was my own money, I would have bought the Switch because of the side panel window. Because if you consider that, if you do this, you're going to end up having to mod it or buy a different side panel. So that would have put me off. And like I said, I don't think that the lights and everything, they are great, but I don't think that they'd be for me. So what I'm going to do is, that's what I mean, I am still kind of flicking between that silver and gold. Am I being too personal with it and putting it to silver because it's not necessarily designed for me? Now, I like the old Phantom, but I really do keep getting to that bloody side panel window and then thinking to myself, would I be willing to pay 50 quid for that fan controller and some lights? It would be easy. And when you think about it, for the most of you out there, so that you end up putting it, that you just connect your fan controllers up and everything, and then it would be all right. If you run extra, a radiator in the bottom with two sets of fans, so two fans, the side panel window fan, there is an extra connection, so you could run your radiator from that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be generous, and my final decision for the Phantom 820, I am going to give it a gold award. And all I'm going to say is that I do think it is a little bit too expensive over the Switch. And I do think that the side panel window, considering that I think that it's too expensive, I do think that the side panel window makes it look cheaper. So this is the side panel that they should have gone with, or something around those lines. We've been across that, I'm not going to go around it again. But I will give it that gold. But I will say it's only bloody just got it. Considering that they were already working with a chassis that was epic, which was the Switch. I don't think they really done it enough to it. I think they could have done more. So NZXT, don't go resting on your laurels here. Do you know what I mean? You did a great job with the last one. I was expecting more with this one, and I don't really think you've brought it to the table. But one thing I will say, guys and girls, if you found this review and you're a little bit about that side panel, or you're a little bit about the looks, then just go and buy the Switch. I would say if it was my own personal money and it was a case of one or the other, I would go with the Switch. And even if that meant me having to buy lights, you could then do it yourself, and NZXT do braided lights that you can run round, get the 2 metre ones, and you'll be able to go round the case lovely. I would personally go with those. And if you're adamant that you want a fan controller, bearing in mind that fan controllers are just going to add cables into your rig, you saw how messy the back of this one was, I would just get one and have it in the front of the Switch. And NZXT do white panel fan controllers as well. So I would go with that. So it's just about got the gold award. And the reason why I did go with gold over silver is because, yes, it has got that fan controller, which does make things very easy for the most of you out there. There's enough cables for 3 fans in the roof, 2 fans in the floor, or if you wanted to use that 200mm side panel fan, it's there anyway. And it's obviously a great performing case. It is quite well built. Yes, there is a lot of plastic there, but you saw when I was trying to take the roof off, it doesn't just give way. It's very well, built and put together. When you take the front panel off, make sure you loosen the latches inside. Don't just do what I did the first time and just prise the front of it off. And I did have to really swing on it to get it to go as well. So it just goes to show you that all the plastic is made really, really well. And the fact that it's kind of a little bit woo with me, like I said, it really does just come down to that. Is it really worth that price? So it really depends. That's going to be the type of thing that you guys are going to have to decide, really. If the fan controller is going to be perfect for you because everything's there and you can just get on with it, awesome. If you like the fact that you can pick your colours, maybe, you know, change the colours with the daisy rig. If you had it all white inside, maybe white water cooling, the change in the dial would bring out different kind of like reflections and stuff on the water cooling. Although I think I might save that for if we do like a mod guide or something with it. So yes, very kind of detailed, complex, multi kind of sided conclusion there. I was wavering even throughout making this video, silver gold, silver gold, silver gold, but I'm going to be generous with it and just about let it slide that gold. If NZXT do decide to slide that price down a bit, it will solidify that gold a little bit more. If they do address the side panel, I know what they're going to say. They'll say, if the sales are good, we might think about bringing out a cost option. But the thing is because of the three colours that this comes in, black, white, and then the gunmetal grey, are exactly the same as the Switch side panels, I don't see why they couldn't offer it, even if it was just from their own website and not with retailers, being able to buy that side panel. But obviously then when you think about it, it's just getting back to the point of why didn't you buy the Switch in the first place if you wanted that side panel. So if you do buy this, it's obviously just going to be because you like the design of the Phantom itself and the window's just a slight niggle. But anyway, I know I have gone round loads and loads in circles on this one, and a lot of people do tend to moan at me about it. But the reason why I do my videos this way and don't just script them and, you know, read to it, because the way I do things is it's like I'm chatting to a friend and I'm just talking to you about my thoughts and my opinions on stuff, rather than it just be, like I said, like reading from a script or, you know, telling you what people want me to tell you and stuff like that. That's not the way I work. The way I work is it's almost like I'm having a discussion with you, but it's quite mad in the sense that the discussion that I'm having really is in my head and you're just getting to hear all of my thoughts just kind of like bounding out, which is why sometimes you go round and round, because I'm rethinking something or I'm just solidifying something in my head. But anyway, just about literally skin of its teeth a gold award, but honestly NZXT, it was close, and I do think you could have done more, to be fair, especially when you're asking so much money for it. But anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm filming this on the Sunday because I wanted to do it right at the last minute, so I knew exactly where my head was going to be. But the NDA is tomorrow morning at 7 in the morning. So yeah, thanks very much for that, NZXT. I'm going to have to set my alarm. And it's not like I've not had too much coffee today. And if you follow me on Facebook, you'll also realise that I'm massively suffering with a hangover, and the smell of Domino's pizza in this room really isn't helping. But congratulations if you found one of my videos for the first time and you actually managed to sit to the end. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment. If you're a regular, if you did get to the end, I'm sure that your tea's either finished or gone cold. So you can go and congratulate yourself now by making yourself another one. And considering it's a Sunday, you can have well, Sunday for me anyway, you can have another cookie. But for now at least, with the just, and I do mean just, gold award winning NZXT Phantom 820, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you out. Ding!